Sam Nestler of DLLS Stars joins us for a Stars versus Jets Game 1 preview.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Sam Nestler was kind enough to join us today for a Stars versus Jets Game 1 preview. Sam, thank you so much for taking some time. Let's hop right in. What are you most excited for when it comes to Jets Stars in this series? Any intriguing storylines that really pop out to you right away?
Yeah, the two for me, obviously the return to health for both teams is really interesting to watch. All signs point towards Jason Robertson returning tonight for game one. Miro Heiskanen still not ready yet, but very close for Dallas. And then you got Josh Morrissey, Mark Scheifele, a couple other guys that have been skating in non-contact jerseys or questionable. I think the Jets coach today just said everybody's a game time decision pretty much. So it'll just be interesting to see who gets healthier, because sometimes this time of year, that's really what it comes down to. I mean, we've seen multiple series in the past where the Stars just weren't healthy enough to compete, even though they may have had a good enough team to beat certain opponents in the postseason. So for me, I'm watching who gets healthier first and who gets re-assimilated. And that's the negative side of it for Dallas, I guess, where these players are coming back from longer term injuries. Morrissey just left in game 7. Scheifele, I can't remember when he left, game 5 or 6 when he took his injury. Whereas Miro Heiskanen hasn't played since January, and Jason Robertson hasn't played since the first or second period of that regular season finale in Nashville. So that's one that I'm looking at to see who can step into the lineup and make an impact. Obviously, we know for both those teams, it's eerily similar. It's the top defenseman and one of their better goal scorers and point producers on the offensive side. So that's one for me. And then the other one's the obvious one, which I know Jake Oettinger will tell me that goalies don't actually play against each other. And that's true in a sense of actual, face-to-face battles, but in the broader sense, that's exactly what playoff hockey comes down to a lot of times. And for Connor Hellebuyck and Jake Oettinger, this is American goalies number 1 and 2. It's I think it's either 2 or top 3 of the NHL leaders in wins this season. Hellebuyck, obviously the gold standard with pretty much every goaltending category. Jake had a great year. In terms of the playoffs, it's kind of flipped a little bit where Jake's been much better. I mean, outside of game 1, Jake was fantastic in that series, got better as it went on, had some pretty ridiculous numbers in a few of those games, even the one that he got pulled in. And Hellebuyck's really struggled. We saw him dip to a different level in the playoffs in his career. He wasn't bad in the Four Nations, but he got outplayed by Jordan Binnington. That's just been the way it's been. Either he struggles or he at least just doesn't play to the level he normally does, and he gets outdueled in playoff series, and he did again in the first round. But I will say this, as soon as the Jets tied that game in game 7 with 1.6 to go, he flipped a switch, and it looked like he said, okay, guys, you had my back. You got me out of the hole. I allowed 2 goals I shouldn't have, and you found a way. Now I'm not going to let another goal. And he wasn't super heavily tested, but he was perfect in both overtimes and allowed them to get that win. And the question is now, which do we see, right? Do we see Hellebuyck still question himself a little bit and come into this series a little shaky? Because if so, I think Dallas is far too good of a team to allow the Jets to overcome that. Whereas maybe in the first round with St. Louis, they didn't have as many weapons. The Jets were still able to win some of those games despite Hellebuyck's play. I don't think that's going to happen against Dallas. Just like if Jake Oettinger played mediocre, the Jets are too good of a team to allow Dallas to overcome that. Or are we going to see Hellebuyck? Yeah, he's saying all the right things to the media. He's saying he took a huge lift off his shoulders. He feels much better. That could very well be true. And if they're seeing a very free, confident Hellebuyck, it's a totally different series, especially with how good defensively the Jets are.
And I'm sure Jake Oettinger in the back of his head is remembering the U.S. backup chance from earlier in this season, how competitive he is. He will certainly be thinking about that tonight in Game 1 in Manitoba. You mentioned Jason Robertson earlier. He's a game-time decision. What is your gut feeling on Robo? And we saw Pete DeBoer shuffle up some of the lines earlier in the week. It looks like there's some of the old horses put together. What do you make of that? And what do you think head coach Pete DeBoer is trying to do in this series? Or maybe does he go back to what we've seen already against Colorado?
Yeah, well, for Jason Robertson, I think he's in. I think it's very rare that they go out and they have a full practice where they change up all their lines if a guy's not playing, right? It would be, I know Pete said that they was all dependent on how he feels this morning. He did skate this morning in Winnipeg, optional morning skate. I think he's in, unless there's some sort of setback today after skating that we don't foresee. And if he is in, the lines that they had in practice yesterday, I believe, is what we'll see to start, which was keeping that Finn line together, which I think is the right move. I understand it's Jason Robertson. You're just immediately gut instinct is throw him back on the top line, but they finally got something to work with Rantanen, right? They finally got something, and not just Rantanen, Rope Hintz. They found a way to make Rope Hintz look like the Rope Hintz we see. Not enough, but sometimes during the season where he's just one of the better players in the NHL. So I think that was the right move. Keep that together with Granlund, Hintz, and Rantanen. And then they did split up Marchment, Duchesne, and Seguin, which again, I think is a smart move because it really wasn't working that well, right? They scored the overtime winner in Game 3. Kind of.
Rantanen helped out with that.
Rantanen did a great job on that play, but so that line just didn't click. We were wondering if Seguin coming back would just immediately start working. It worked 15 seconds into the first game that he was in, but after that, it's not a lot of sustained pressure and chances. We know Duchesne was quiet for a lot of that series, so they basically just flipped Marchment and Ben on the left wing. So I think it's Ben, Duchesne, Seguin, which is just the early dinner line, the grandfather line. But it's always good to see Ben and Seguin together. Who knows if it lasts longer than a period, but it's just nice to see it, especially because every part of every Stars fan is hoping that works, because what a throwback that is to have those two going together and putting up some points. And then the Marchment line is kind of a weird one with Wyatt Johnston and Jason Robertson. They had Jason Robertson on his off wing on the right side, which I have never seen him play in my time covering this team. I don't remember him playing in the AHL either. So it's a new kind of thing there. I know Craig Ludwig was very hesitant to commit to them staying with that. He thinks there might be a little bit of gamemanship going on as well. But then the fourth line bumps Dodonov down, which I know me and you have talked about. This team is better when he's on their fourth line, which is crazy to say because he's a 20-goal scorer, 40-point guy that is one of the more underrated offensive guys in the league. But it just when you look at that lineup, and it's funny because it's just one player. I know it's their leading goal scorer, but just the fact that one body comes in and you look at that lineup and think, holy crap, that is a deep forward group. That's what excites me about it. So I'm excited to see if that's how they roll out and how much time they give that top line, because if they start to hit a little speed bump 1-2 games into the series, maybe that's when Pete DeBoer goes back to Robertson up there. But I'm just excited to see how it all pans out.
Yeah, I would first glance at it when you tweeted out, looked at it, I was Duchesne, Ben, Seguin. I don't know, but it would be fun if it does work. That's the exciting part. On paper, I'm like, I don't know, but you never know at this time of year. Sometimes things just click, and obviously they're veteran savvy players, and maybe that opens up something for each of them, and they get going, which would be really exciting. And you talked about Dallas so much depth up front. If that line can chip in a bit, that's always a good thing. What is your sense, just from hearing from Winnipeg, from Dallas and players, the approach or maybe the style of this series? Because Winnipeg came out of a very, very brutal physical series. I talked with Harrison of Locked On Jets, and he said that was one of the more physical series he thinks he's ever watched. Dallas and Colorado, pretty fast pace. Dallas was trying to slow that down, but what kind of sense of a stylistic series are we going to get, maybe from the Stars locker room? What do you think they're preparing from Winnipeg?
Yeah, I think both teams are expecting this to be a lot tighter than the Colorado series was in the first round. You mentioned it. It opened up at times in this series. Dallas didn't really want that. The benefit is I can't remember if it was me and you talking about it, but they are able to do that now. They're able to, get into those running gun games, and they don't want it. It's not their system, but when they get into it, they have the weapons to be able to keep up and score goals. However, you look at those games, and those are the games, the 6-4, 7, those are the ones you didn't really feel all that confident during, right? Because it's just not how the team wants to play. And so it feels more like they need a big save or a big chance here, and that's not the way that Dallas wants to play. It's not the way Winnipeg wants to play either. I mean, if you look back at the way they played during the regular season, those were tight games. Unfortunately, many of them were Dallas just being absolutely smothered in the Winnipeg end. I think there were 2 4-1 losses and a 4-0 loss to Winnipeg during the regular season. And that's what they did to the Stars. They just smothered them. And then Hellebuyck made a save or two when he had to. But the big thing, and Craig Ludwig actually told me about this to kind of look for this. And when you go back and watch those games, Winnipeg does an amazing job at frustrating opponents, just like Dallas does when you just don't give them much. And you might have the guys circling the zone or cycling, but you're just not creating a whole lot. Once they do that, they get opponents to a point where they either make a cross ice pass, or they take a chance, or they jump a defenseman up into play. That's when they make you pay. That's when they pick it off and go the other way. And they are one of the best rush teams in the NHL. It's obvious to see why. They have the guys like Connor and Scheifele and Perfetti that can put the puck away when they have a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2. And that's what Dallas, I think, needs to be really, really smart about in this series. It's always an important part of hockey to not turn pucks over in the neutral zone, offensive blue line, and in the offensive zone. But here specifically, make the simple play. Make the play to chip it to a corner. Make the pass. If you're looking up and you're not 100%, that pass is going to get to that point. Turn around and throw it back behind the net and go back to the work in the cycle. Because for Dallas, I think almost all the Jets' goals were scored off of those type of plays where they gave him an odd man rush or they broke down in coverage. And that's what I think Dallas needs to look for. So if I'm looking, I could be completely wrong and watch, it's going to be 7-6 in every game here. But for me, I'm thinking this is a lot of 2-1, 3-2 games in this series with two teams that are just going to try to lock it down as much as they can defensively.
Yeah, and Connor or Perfetti, they're like Stars killers. It feels like every time they play the Jets, they find a way to beat Dallas. So that will be an interesting matchup as well. Just Connor Rantanen, Connor Hens, kind of that how that kind of transpires throughout the series. Alrighty, a few more things that I want to ask Sam. I have to ask about Rantanen. I should have asked him at the beginning, but I got to get your thoughts on Game 7 real quick, and a few more things as we get prepared. I'll get your predictions for Game 1 tonight as well. Maybe the Stars will win one. Who knows? Maybe we'll switch things up. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios, one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep that feeling of being fuller longer. Get snack and get crack with a snack that packs a protein punch. The no shells Wonderful Pistachios is for that grab and go ease as well. It's like snack medication when you're running around, you're trying to be busy doing work, you're dropping off your kids and such. You got to get a quick snack that's nutritious, and that's where Wonderful Pistachios comes in. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Get snack and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Okay, we flip it back to a few days ago. Mikko Rantanen just put the cape on, and he went through all of Colorado, went right through the Rocky Mountains, blew them all up to destroy Colorado. What was that like? I think you were in the building. What was the atmosphere like in the American Airlines Center? And was that one of the wildest games you've been to, and let alone it was Game 7?
Yeah, 100% it was. I think that I don't know if it was the loudest I've heard that building, but I will say it was definitely the loudest swing I've heard.
Yeah.
It was silent in there when McKinnon scored that second goal, and every person in the building, including in the press box, believed that this was the last game the Dallas Stars were going to play this season. And I don't think you can blame anybody for that. It had all signs of, the Stars had come back in plenty of games this year, but it had the feeling of both these teams were running on fumes. So whoever had the lead, it felt like was going to win it, because it just didn't feel like anyone was going to be able to dig one more step deeper and find a way to come back. And then that was kind of right. They weren't producing a whole lot. They weren't creating many chances. And then you said it perfectly. I mean, Mikko Rantanen it's one thing when you when a guy scores a few goals and you make the reference of he put the whole team on his back, but he literally did. I mean, he took that puck into the zone. He took his time. He buried a perfect shot off the crossbar. And then his second goal, he just split 3 people and just decided, I'm getting this puck to the net no matter what they try to do to me. And that was his moment. Everyone needs to have one, especially it's really important for a guy to have a moment like that early. The Tyler Seguin overtime winner against Boston in his first year to really cement his legacy early on. That type of moment is huge for players, especially to win over a fan base. And tell me he didn't win over this entire fan base with that performance. I mean, to do what he did in any game would have been wild, but to do it, to essentially pull the Stars up out of the grave and their season being over, to putting them ahead, tied up and giving them all the momentum. Pete DeBoer actually said, we probably don't win that game if it's not at American Airlines Center in front of those fans. Yeah. And that felt true. Like it felt like if they were not getting the momentum and the crowd noise and the buildup and the pressure, all those things that go into a game like that, it just felt like maybe they would have gone away into the distance and quietly disappeared for the end of the season. And for Mikko Rantanen, it had to just feel like, speaking of weight off your shoulders. I mean, he's had so much going on. He's had his moments here and there, but he hasn't had that final touch. I think we talked about this in Colorado when we were last on the show. He looked good, created a chance, and then it would just roll off the stick, or pass would be picked off, or he'd miss the net. All of a sudden, he was putting the final touches on every one of those plays. I know the second one was kind of a lucky bounce, but you got to earn your bounces. We saw Colorado earn plenty of them in the series. So it was good to see one go in for Dallas. And then just as soon as they scored that tying goal, it felt like, all right, this is on. They might win this game right here, right now, because we've seen it before. If you've been to Stars games, watch Stars games, when they get rolling, they are one of the harder teams to stop. So I loved it for him. I think it could go huge for them going forward, for his confidence, for his chemistry, for the team belief in him. I think it just was the moment they were waiting for, and what a time to have it.
Absolutely. A legendary performance. I really didn't think you could top a Yoel Kiviranta Game 7 hat trick with an overtime winner, but I think Mikko did. And it was awesome that, of course, it was at the AAC. Now, the Stars do not have home ice advantage, so it's the first time they're playing Game 1 since the Western Conference Final a few years ago against Vegas. And the last time they won a Game 1 was against Nashville when Miro was a rookie, which is almost hard to believe. And Miro scored a couple of goals in that game. They're without Miro. So is Dallas able to try to combat those demons tonight? Give me your Game 1 prediction, and then I want to hear your series prediction as well.
Yeah, I will say that this Game 1 is going to be, in my opinion, sloppy. Okay. I think that coming off of both of those teams, coming off of not just like a emotional Game 7, the most emotional Game 7 you can imagine. I mean, Dallas, somehow the Jets topped Rantanen's crazy Game 7 story with their own crazy comeback. Digging deep like that takes a lot out of you. And I think that there were a few days off in between. I know that, but I just think it's really hard to go from that level to, okay, it's Game 1 again. It's like when you go from, you lose in the Western Conference Final and then you try to go into Game 1 of the regular season the next year. Sometimes it takes a little time. So I expect it to be a little bit sloppy, whether that's just two flat teams or whether it's teams that are just a little jumpy and not as confident. That's just my expectation. But in terms of the game, man, I don't know.
I had 3-2 in my head in bed last night before I went to sleep. 3-2 Dallas.
For Dallas?
That's okay. What I don't know why. I was just like, okay, I'm going with 3-2. So that's what I'm throwing out there.
3-2 sounds right. 3-2 sounds right to me, but I have a feeling it might be the other way with Winnipeg winning.
They got to get one on the road, it feels like.
Yeah, I think they win Game 2, and then you come back here even. That's just my belief, but it proved me wrong because I'd love to see him crack this nut and finally get off of this Game 1 situation.
Yeah, and I don't feel that confident in Dallas going to a Game 7. I know Pete DeBoer is undefeated. I find it really hard for Dallas to go into Winnipeg and win a Game 7. So I chose Stars in 6 at the beginning of this thing. What have you thrown out there?
I said Jets in 7.
Okay, Jets in 7. All righty, I like
I
it.
also said Avalanche in 7, so
Yeah.
maybe I'll just keep picking the other team in 7.
that works for all Stars fans if that's what you
Yeah.
want to do. You want to go against the Stars,
Sacrifice.
but I think it's going to be a heck of a series. Should be a lot of fun, and maybe we'll catch up about the middle of the series like we did against Colorado. But Sam, thank you so much for joining me for a bit. I think it was just announced you guys are going to be on Victory Plus as well, right? DLLS. That's really exciting.
We got Brent
okay.
Severin coming in any minute now to join us, and we'll be on Victory Plus tonight. And I think for all of the playoffs, for as long as this team stays alive.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I know many Stars fans will be tuning into that. So Stars fans, be sure to tune into that tonight. I certainly will be as well. Have it on the laptop while I have the game up here at the hotel and catching up with you boys. I'm sure it will be an absolute blast, and that'll be a lot of fun throughout the playoffs. So, well, congrats to that. You guys do a heck of a job as always. Sam, thank you once again. Go Stars, and we'll catch up soon.
All right. Thanks, Joey. Appreciate it.
An award-winning mattress can change your life. I speak from experience. It happened to me. After years of uncomfortable sleeps, I recently switched to Bear Mattress, and the results were instant. Bear Mattress is designed with a focus on recovery, cooling, and pressure relief to upgrade your sleep and improve your overall quality of life. I used to deal with night sweats, but Bear's best-in-class cooling ensures optimal temperature regulation, which prevents overheating and helps me stay comfortable all night long. Bear offers a wide variety of mattresses, but to get the right one for you, take their sleep quiz that matches you to your perfect mattress based on body type and sleep preferences. Go to bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout to get 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com. Use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
Once again, a huge thank you to Sam Nestler of DLLS for joining me today. Always a pleasure to catch up with him for this Game 1 preview. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe as well. Continue to pump up those numbers. I appreciate all of you that have hopped on for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Welcome to Locked On Stars. I'm Joey Erickson. We have a lot of fun here, and we talk Stars hockey every day. It's an absolute blast. Let me know in the comments below your predictions. I shared mine. I got 3-2. For whatever reason, it was in bed last night. I just thought Dallas gets it done on the road. They take Game 1. They're going to have to probably get one of the two, if not win 2 games on the road against Winnipeg. But Dallas has been pretty darn good on the road. They didn't do that well against Colorado in the series. During the regular season, they were all right away from the AAC, but there was some pretty alarming numbers in terms of road and home splits in that series against Dallas and Colorado. Brian Ray, who Sam Nestler just mentioned, I believe, tweeted out these numbers. So here you go. So the shot differential at home versus on the road for Dallas against Colorado. At home, even. On the road, minus 47. And look, you can take some of this with a grain of salt. Game 4, Dallas really never got out of the blocks in that game. And as I stated multiple times during that series, it's just one game. Dallas may have gotten dominated a couple of times in the series, but it's only one game, and that's the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? You win 6-2, it only counts as one. But these are alarming. Don't get me wrong. Attempts differential, home minus 18, road minus 84. The goal differential, +1 at home, minus 6 on the road. The plus minus at home, -1 on the road, minus 36. So the Stars will certainly have to find a way to flip those numbers, or at least get those road numbers closer to even than they were against Colorado if they want to have any chance at winning this series. And as Sam noted, Pete DeBoer mentioned, if they were not at home in Game 7 against Colorado, they may not win that game. They do not have the benefit of home ice advantage in this series, played in the first 2 games on the road. The last time The Stars were on the road to begin a series. Was that Western Conference final against Vegas. Dallas lost game 1 and 2 in overtime, and then they had that awful game 3 at home. They went down 3-0. They were able to force it to game 6, if you recall, but you cannot go down 3-0 and crawl your way back. We know Winnipeg is a team that I mentioned during the regular season. They remind me a bit of how Dallas was a few years ago, or last year, I would say, with Chris Tanev and that defensive core, where it just felt like Dallas could really shut down opponents. In third periods, when they were up, they could shut you down. In the first series against Colorado, their offenses had to carry them. They've had to come from behind multiple times. That's sort of been their blueprint this season. They don't have the personnel to just shut teams out offensively. Now, maybe they're able to do that against a Winnipeg team that doesn't have as much, I guess, star power necessarily. But as we talked with Harrison, this is a scoring by committee type of team, sort of how Dallas is in a lot of ways. They score by committee. So if Winnipeg is going to get some depth scoring, Dallas may struggle, but maybe Dallas is able to buckle up defensively and be a lot tighter. I think Sam hit the nail on the head. I think these games are going to be really, really low scoring. I think they're going to be low event, probably low chaos, especially early on in this series, just as both teams kind of get a feel for each other once again. I think it's going to be heavy, physical, going to be played along the walls, and you're going to have to get some timely goaltending, timely saves from either Hellebuyck or Dallas in this series. But game 1 will be a good indicator on what to expect throughout the series. I'm just intrigued, and I think Sam is maybe correct too. Both teams maybe just a bit antsy. It may not be pretty early on, just coming off those really emotional series and just the way each team won. So it may be territorial off the hop, and a bit of a feeling out process. But for Dallas in this series, why I'm confident in Dallas, and maybe they can win in 6 games, is the health factor. Feels like Dallas is going to get healthier, and I know I'm not really relying on Miro Heiskanen to come back. As I mentioned earlier in the week, when he comes back, because I thought he was coming back like game 5, no later against Colorado, and that wasn't the case. So deadlines got pushed back, but he's getting closer. If Dallas gets Robo back tonight, which Sam feels in his gut he's going to be in the lineup tonight, Miro comes back at some point, Dallas just seems like a team where maybe they're going to have the edge, and instead of dropping like flies or losing players, whereas Winnipeg sort of did that in the first series in a really physical 7 games against the Blues, Dallas maybe get a bit healthier, and those are really impactful players, and that's the full lineup for Dallas. Is it still the best lineup in the world? Maybe not. I don't know, but if Miro Heiskanen's back, that's a huge player for Dallas. And sort of how we discussed with Dadonov, if Robo's back, that moves Dadonov back to the 4th line. That makes the Stars better. Moving Lyubushkin, CC down, that makes the Stars better, a lot better. And that's what I'm really intrigued to watch. And I hope at some point in this series, just for our sake as Stars fans, we get to see this team fully healthy in the Stanley Cup playoffs, because that's what this team was built for. And I think it would stink not to see them fully healthy. But of course, they're being cautious with Miro. But I want to see this team at their best, because if they are at their best with Miro in the lineup and Robo healthy, Dallas feels like a really strong Stanley Cup contender. And can they get it done? And if they don't, then back to the drawing board. But it feels like they have a really, really good shot at it if they're fully healthy. And if they're able to get through Winnipeg, who knows? Going to be a heck of a series. Looking forward to it. But that's going to do it here on Locked On Stars for a Game 1 preview. Stars versus Jets. We'll be back pretty much right after the game. After I record, I'll post it right away for my Game 1 reaction. Thank you once again. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Big shout out to Sam Nestler for joining me today from DLLS. Be sure to watch them on Victory Plus. They're going to be there all playoff songs, which will be a lot of fun as too. So to catch Sam and the crew there. Have a great day, Stars fans. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll be back with a Game 1 reaction after tonight. So long, Stars fans.